What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for the weekly sports card market update. A tradition unlike any other. Almost 3 years, I think right around 3 years to the day. I started doing these 3 years ago in June. It was about a month or so after the channel launched that I started spitting out the weekly sports card market updates. So 3 years in, I have missed very few Sundays on these. Sometimes they get pushed to Monday. Speaking of which, I should mention next week's decent chance it's going to be on Monday. I will be at attendance in Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you're in that neck of the woods and you're going to be at the show, keep your eyes peeled for me. If you're going to be there, let me know in the comments down below. If you're in that section of the world, I believe Dustin, the sports card dad, will be in attendance on Saturday. So hopefully I'll see him and hang out with him for a little bit. Maybe we'll do some content. Who knows? But busy week. Got to prep for that. Got to get some videos in the can. But long story short, next Sunday's video probably won't be on Sunday. It'll probably get pushed to Monday. I'll record Sunday night when I get home. Because the weekly sports card market update is not an easy one to record on the road because all the tabs and screens and all that nonsense. So, first Fantasy Football League is underway. I will launch a second one shortly in the realm of housekeeping stuff. And that's pretty much it from a housekeeping standpoint. Let's just go ahead and dive in. Newsy stuff off the top. PSA. Let's talk a little PSA. They are simultaneously cranking things out and also getting a little behind. Let's talk about this. So I sent off that bulk order. It arrived, I think, May 12th, that 38 card PSA submission. Grades popped and it is shipping back to me. I'm recording this Saturday afternoon. I believe those cards are at my local FedEx. They should be delivered on Monday or Tuesday. So PSA reveal video at some point in time next week. So less than 30 days for a 38 card. That was the $16 special that they were running previously. No spoilers. That will be an interesting grading reveal video. I will leave it at that. The gem rate was above 50%, but there's definitely some oddball ones in there that I'm one in particular that I am very intrigued to get my eyes on once I get it in hand. So that should be a fun reveal video on that order. Definitely went a little weird for sure. And also, so in that regard, they're moving quickly on that stuff, but their receiving department is way behind. They ran that new $15 special. I don't know if it's coming from that or what, but I sent that Cam Collier, the Sapphire Auto, in at regular service. It arrived last Friday, as in 9 days ago, last Friday, not this past Friday, the Friday before. So it'll be 9 days by the time that this video posts. As of Saturday afternoon, it is still sitting at received and has not been checked in yet. A full 9 to 10 days after they got it. I tweeted about this, and then I saw some stuff on Blowout. Blowout, people were saying that they talked to PSA. Their receiving department is running like 10 days behind. I tweeted about it. Nat Turner actually replied. I didn't even tag him in it. He just replied. And because I said something about like the receiving department must be way behind from this new special or whatever. And he said slammed. So I don't know if it is the special is performing that well, or, and it could be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, or a lot of people are looking at the calendar and they are trying to get orders in before the National to get cards back. And, you know, if you had a bunch of stuff, if you're a dealer or whatever, and you wanted to get that stuff in the door and get it back before the National for a bulk service, this is kind of your last shot. And at the way that they are going on checking in orders, it'll be interesting to see if that slows down the grading team at all, because things seem to be bottlenecked on the front end on the receiving side. So once they get checked in, maybe things still move pretty quickly. I don't know. I'm very curious how this regular service cam is going to go, because usually that's 10 business days, but the clock doesn't start until the order's officially checked into the system, which mine is not yet. So that's kind of your little PSA updates. This $15 special with the 90s and newers seems to be extremely popular. Also in the grading space, SGC They did their price adjustments, drops, specials, whatever you want to call it. They rolled out another $9 special, $15 football with essentially no limits on it as well. A lot of discourse and discussion around SGC and pricing currently. As I kind of mentioned in that video, I feel like the $15 football thing is a test bed for them to eventually lower other prices, see what comes in the door, what they can handle, can't handle, all that jazz. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see, I don't know, maybe $15 across the board once we kind of roll into the national. I don't know. I keep saying this over and over again. I feel like the non-PSAs of the world are going to shake the snow globe at or around the national in regards to pricing, grading scales, whatever. We pretty much waiting for major announcements from all the major grading companies other than PSA. I feel like PSA is the one that's kind of like, we know what they're doing. Other than, adjusting prices here and there, it feels like $15 wants to be their floor. But SGC has not had a major price change for a long time other than these specials. CSG and CGC haven't really done anything crazy lately. And Beckett, we are still in limbo on. That's basically the state of grading of the four big boys right now. A lot of them will probably be announcing on-site grading specials. And any other news that they're going to pop out, you would think would be coming in the next 6 weeks or so. So that's the state of SGC. I do think that they need to get a little bit lower overall. Speaking of the national, as we were kind of hinting at it and teasing it, it is quickly sneaking up. We are, 7 weeks away, 6 weeks away from the national. If you're planning on attending and you don't have travel figured out yet, you should probably get on that unless you're local. I continue to be in kind of big show mode, if you will, between Heroes Con this upcoming weekend and the National after that. Just kind of adjusting my spending habits, what I'm buying, what I haven't been buying at local shows, what I've been selling to free up cash. We'll probably do a little bit more national prep style videos over the next couple weeks here as we get closer and closer to the event. I may do something specifically this week on kind of like my thought process heading into Heroes Con, because attending a larger show, whether it's a Comic-Con or a sports card show, is a lot different than going to your local or even a regional show, for example. Like when I go to my local shows, I have no plan of attack when I walk in there. It's kind of just play it by ear and see what I see. When I go to a bigger show, that's a little bit of a different story. Even Shipshawana, I almost don't even go in there with a plan anymore. It's just kind of walk the floor and see what I can run into. The National, I typically have a plan for, at least some sort of outline of specifically what I am looking for. The show is just so big and so overwhelming. There's just too many things. You will get distracted very easily. But more on that probably, like I said, over the next couple of weeks. And maybe we'll do something Heroes Con specific leading up to the show this week. But just kind of wanted to throw it out there. The National is coming and coming fast. And like I said, I've said this a million times before. I think the Chicago National, of the ones that I've been to, which are not many, but it's just a perfect location for it. And just the way everything lays out around the convention center, everyone is very close together. In the tinfoil hat brigade portion of the show, this one is pretty legit. Even I was like, really, guys? So if you haven't seen this, and a lot of people have talked about this, I'm a little late to the party on this one. I didn't think that it necessarily deserved its own video, but I did want to at least mention it. Michael Rubin, and a very popular soccer player. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name or pretend that I know anything about soccer. Rubin traveled to, I believe the soccer player cracked a box of Top Sterling, which is extremely high-end product. They hit probably the product hit of the entire product, which is a Jackie Robinson 101 cut auto. And then Rubin himself hit a really nice Mike Trout auto. Now, was the Jackie Robinson planted, seeded, whatever? Here's my take on this, I guess, having kind of marinated on this for most of the week. I don't think the Jackie Robinson was specifically set aside for this. That's my gut. I think they pulled two boxes that they knew had better cards in it. I think it was like Sports Card Nonsense or someone, one of the other content creators / podcasts, whatever, were like, There's no way he was opening that box and getting a Wade Boggs auto. I think that was Sports Card Nonsense that said that. Like, because this is a very high risk, high reward product. The amount of hits in it to get your money back are slim. So the fact that they pulled 2 of them, because even the Trout is a really nice pull, is a little crazy. So I think, did they know that Jackie was going there? I don't know. I don't know that I'm willing to go that far, but I am willing to say they knew that they were getting 2 good boxes because they weren't going to do this big marketing push and have them open that up and it be a Joe Carter rookie or something. I don't know even if he's on the checklist. I'm just kind of joking around, but you get my point. So tinfoil hat, do what you're going to do. Like I said, even me on this one, I'm like side-eyeing it for sure. Let's transition into some charts and graphs in the good old market movers. Take a look at, we're actually going to talk football today. Football, baseball, basketball. Link in the description down below if you want your own charts and graphs. I could keep saying it. If you're curious, try it. The first 2 weeks are free, and then you get 20% off for life if you use the coupon code down below in the link to the description of this video. Football up first. Have not looked at football for a while, so I was just kind of genuinely curious kind of how things have been going the last couple of months. Specifically quarterbacks. I want to do a deeper dive quarterback video. I have the idea for it floating around in my head, and it's just essentially the gist of it will be I want to kind of look at every starting quarterback in the league and rank them by price and just see if it makes sense. Like, is there someone in there that it just does not make sense that like this guy sells for so much less than these other guys? That's the brainchild for the video. So that'll probably be coming out maybe this week or next week. I just got to have some time to sit down and run all the numbers. But I'm just kind of intrigued to see if we could maybe find like, oh wait, this one doesn't make sense. Maybe this guy's too cheap type situation. So just pulled some popular names here. No particular order on a couple of these. I went with the more modern crew, and then I have a second tab here that we'll look at in a second. So this is going back to April 1st. So a little more than 60 days, about 2.5 months worth of stuff. Burrow, silver PSA 10. Hurts, silver PSA 10. Patrick Mahomes, PSA 10 silver. Herbert, silver. Justin Fields, silver, all in PSA 10. And then the Trevor Lawrence, I had to pull a PSA 9 because essentially no 10s have sold. I've said this a million times in videos. The PSA 10 Lawrence silver is a ghost. There is a printing issue with that card. They are very low pop in a PSA 10, and they rarely sell. So running through these, just at a high level, we're not going to talk really individual numbers per se. Little surprising, most of these guys over the spring and the summer are actually trending down. You can see Burrow down 10%, Mahomes down 12%, Fields down 12%, and Lawrence in the 9 is down 15%. The only 2 guys that have gone up are Herbert up 25% and Hurts up 16%. I was kind of surprised by that. I was not, I'll be honest, I have not followed the football offseason market super closely, but I was not expecting to see red on this chart. I figured worst case it would be flat to slightly up. So I'm a little surprised to see half the list, more than half the list in the red, even though it's not huge numbers, 10, 15%. It's not crazy. It's not 40% like John Morant and Zion Williamson, but just some interesting little nuggets there, if you will. Next slide, next sheet here, pulled up the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I always have to do the 2018 guys separately. Once again, I mentioned this 1,000 times in videos. 2018 silvers are impossible to track down. The population count on them is extremely low. So I use Optic Hollows for this. The Josh Allen Optic Hollow over the same time period is actually up quite a bit, up 30%. Lamar Jackson, I wanted to look at PSA 10s, but none have sold. Pretty low pop on that at only 207, but I'm surprised none have sold compared to the Josh Allen. And then Lamar Jackson in a PSA 9 is up 13% of the Optic Hollow. So those 2 guys are actually going up a little bit, whereas the other more modern tier guys are actually going down a little bit, even the vaunted Patrick Mahomes. Also was curious about wax. Just looking at 2020 or looking at Prism hobby boxes from 2018 to 2022, just to kind of see how they have performed. And I went back over a year. I went back to March of 2022. So the beginning of the 2022 off season all the way through today. And I was, once again, kind of surprised of the amount of red on this. Now, a lot of this is still just the downshifting of the overall market for sure. But just to kind of see wax dip like this, I found kind of interesting. Let me rank these by price, and then we'll kind of run through them. So 2020 is now, of this group, is the most expensive hobby box at $2K. The 2018, which used to be King of the Mountain, it actually flipped and dropped below. You can see right back here in the middle of the 2022 season, they switched spots and they kind of hugged each other, and now they have kind of split apart a little bit. So 2018 wax now sells for less than 2020. 2021 comes in next at just over a K, and then 2022 and 2019 are the two dogs of the class. 2022, the rookie class, not great other than the Purdyster and Kenny Pickett. We'll see what they end up doing. And then 2019 is just basically Kyler Murray and then some position players. That class is pretty weak as well. That one's down 24% over the last year. 2022 has basically been flat. Those boxes have been sitting at 650. And like I said, 2021 down 20%. 2018 taking the biggest hit, down 30%, as that class has really kind of developed into Allen and Lamar only. And then 2020, the vaunted class is basically down slightly at right around 2K. That 2020 class, the shine has not come off all those guys yet. This will probably be make or break year for a lot of them. It'll be interesting to see what Herbert prices do if he just kind of has another Herbert season. And what I mean by that is really nice numbers, but doesn't really win, or the Chargers just kind of charger and get in their own way, and they either don't make the playoffs or barely make the playoffs or do some dumb stuff or whatever. Can Herbert's prices sustain with good numbers, but never actually consistently winning or making a deep playoff run? I don't know. That will be something to definitely watch as we kind of move through this football season. Baseball. We talked a lot about Elly De La Cruz in yesterday's video, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on him. But someone in the comments justifiably so brought up, what about Josh Young? The Texas Rangers rookie prospect that is having an absolutely fantastic year. So I looked at his prices. I just pulled up his first Bowman prospect auto. And once again, this just goes back to what I talked about yesterday. The hype cycle on these guys is out of control. Elly, who has done nothing in the majors, had a great spring training, had a good start to the season in the minors, got called up, hit a home run, whatever. He struck out a bunch, but I get it. The hype's all there. His stuff is going to the moon. Josh, for the Rangers, having a fantastic season. Will be the runaway AL Rookie of the Year, most likely. His cards, meh, nobody cares. This is going back to March 1st, 2023. His PSA 9 is up 75%, so that's pretty, I'm sorry, PSA 10 is up 75%, so that's a pretty big jump there. However, it's actually a little bit lower than that. And the reason why I say that, now one could sell and mess this up. This one sold at the beginning of May for $350. There is one, I looked, that has been listed for auction at $300 in a PSA 10 multiple times, and with a starting bid of $300, and has not sold in late May, early June. So the $350 number is the last comp, but you could have bought one for $300 multiple times over the last couple weeks, and no one has bid. And once again, he's having an absolutely fantastic season, and his stuff is dirt cheap. PSA 9's going for $120. That one's hardly moved at all, up 7%. So I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. It's just food for thought on the Elly experience. And here's another one, Volpe. I pulled his stuff up just for it's a good example of how this works. You could see this is, once again, going from March 1st. Beginning of March, his first Bowman prospect card in an auto, the base non-refractor, was going for about $850. He ended up breaking camp with the team, got a bunch of hype at the beginning of the season. We see that here. This is where he was announced that he was going to be starting with the big club. $331. End of March, PSA 10 going for $1.5K. You can see multiple sales, well over $1,200. He has struggled. He's had some moments, got a lot of stolen bases, but his batting average is terrible. People have been actually saying he should get sent down, and he is now down to around $800, 870, 850, 750, 685 here. He's been on a little upswing here the last couple of days, but he is back to less or right at with this last sale, but he actually dipped below where he was at in March. You want to be selling on this section, not this section. And with Ellie right now, we are in this land. Could it keep going? Could he be the next future whatever? Sure. The odds are stacked against him. He can even have, as we talked about in yesterday's video, he can have an absolutely fantastic MLB career, and his prices are probably going to come down. Just the way that it works. There's only one generational talent every single generation. There can't be one every other month. Just not the way things work, unfortunately. Basketball. NBA Finals. Some fun price movements on this stuff. We're going to look at this two different ways. I've pulled up Jimmy Butler's base prism, PSA 10. Joker and Jamal Murray's silver PSA 10 prisms. And Joker and Jamal Murray's PSA 10 bases. We always talk about selling into the hype cycle, not when it gets later into the hype cycle, and also selling before the actual event. You want to get ahead of the championship. You want to sell in the euphoria of the lead up to the championship, not wait until they actually win, because prices tend to actually go down because the market gets flooded with everyone doing the same thing. So these five cards rather, over the last 60 days, this looks fantastic. Look at this, up 180%, up 25%, up 85%, up 120%, up 80%. Great. You're woohoo. Yes, this is amazing over the last 60 days. So this is pre-playoffs, end of the season, and then the run through the playoff run. You can see as things have crept up as the playoffs have gone on. You know, Denver and Jimmy Butler kept winning. Denver looked like the unbeatable team. Climbing. Cool. You can even see it here with Joker. Dipping back down a little bit. Let's look at this over the last 14 days. Now, remember, over the last 14 days, Miami has made the NBA Finals. They're a long shot to win. Obviously, they're down 3-1 now at time of recording. Denver looks like they're going to just run away with the title. It's theirs. Over the last 14 days, Jimmy Butler down 30%. Not surprising. The shine has come off the Heat. Joker down 10% on his silver prism. Base has stayed flat to slightly up. Base Jamal Murray down 10%. Silver Jamal Murray down 14%. So these guys, they are one win away from their first NBA championship for the 2-star players, and their prices are actually slightly trending down. I always think if you are invested in or have a bunch of inventory of players making a championship game, you are better off to sell at the conference championship, either right before or right after. I always feel like that is the peak euphoria for prices. We see it in the Super Bowl all the time. The AFC and NFC championship game, a lot of times tends to be the peak prices for a lot of guys. Then the market gets flooded with inventory and sellers outweigh the amount of buyers, which causes the prices to go down. Just kind of keep that in mind. I thought it was a very good example of this, looking back at 60 days versus the 14 days of the same cards. One way everything looks great. And then the next way it's like, oh, wait, what's going on? So just some food for thought. Last but not least, good old Zion Williamson. He has a new off-season workout routine, apparently. I am not going to get into the details of that, as I don't want to lose YouTube monetization. So we'll just leave it at that. The man is working hard this off-season. He is clearly trying to get his body right for this upcoming season, any way, shape, or form possible. Zion, what are we going to do with you? His prices, I just kind of wanted to check in on him. I honestly don't know that this is going to affect his card prices. I don't think that it will. It is concerning, not necessarily from what he was doing perspective, but it just feels like, does he care about basketball? I don't really know. He has one of the most intriguing starts. Like, he's going to be the guy that everyone's going to be waiting for that first training camp game. What does he look like? Like, are we going to get? We always get this is becoming a summer tradition. We get the Zion shows up to late summer, early fall tradition. We get the Zion shows up to training camp photo, looking like, you know, the eighth wonder of the world, all worked out, juiced up, whatever. And then everyone goes nuts. And then a week into the season, he has a pulled hamstring and he's eating cheeseburgers. I just can't with this guy. He's like the direct opposite of Ja Morant. The 2019 class, the top of the 2019 class is just a mess. His prices really haven't shifted a ton. This is over the last 60. PSA 10 base has been dead flat at about 70 to 80 bucks. The silver is down slightly, both at a PSA 10 and a PSA 9, about a 10% dip. I don't think this latest round of air quote news will tank his prices. I have a ton of concerns about him. There's no way I'd be holding his stuff in the season. Or if you do, you know, that first week, hopefully he comes out hot first couple weeks and then try to sell by Thanksgiving or something like that. I get it. But one, there's just so much of his stuff. The population reports are out of control. And just the amount of injuries around him and just the wear and tear on his body in more ways than one, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. Not for me. Fun player. I'll enjoy watching him when he's healthy. I want no part of owning his cardboard. So that's all I got for you, boys and girls. Everyone have a great week. We will catch you, boys and girls, on the next one. Peace.